Alright, Radio Free Innsmouth, episode something something. Last time we did this, I gave you guys a phone number to call in and leave me messages, but I only got two. I don't know, you guys sleeping on the job? That ain't right. Get your shit together. Fuck. So that number again was 980 no, that's no. I did get two messages, so let's listen to the first one now.
Greetings, this is Vag Vikanes, long-time listener, first-time caller. I found your episode last week very interesting, and I now plan on starting a Jethro Tull cover band. Ha, just kidding. Will you be a massive faggot this week as well? Let's find out.
Well, alright, let's see what caller number 2 had to say.
Oh, this is Wovoka, coming to you live from 1890 through the power of Ghost Dance. My people called it Maze. Was big fan of show last week. Saw mixed feedback concerning Shaddy's engine references. Wanted to set the record straight. Those are best part of podcast. Do 'em more often. Also, Jub, you keep fuck 'em up, Mike. Lean in and out. Why don't you trade some of your wampums for a mic stand, paleface? Uh-oh. Hiram U.S. Cavalry Regiment. Gotta go. Peace out.
Well, that's two people you don't want to be on the bad side of. That would be Varg Vikernes, the famous Norwegian black metal musician / RPG maker, entrepreneur, and Norwegian family man, and Wovoka, the leader of the Ghost Dance movement around the turn of the century. So I don't want to make either of them mad. I'll try a little bit harder with the mic this time around, and I'll talk about a black metal band instead of some faggy progressive rock shit, because I don't want to get stabbed 23 times in self-defense, if you know what I'm saying, guys. Am I right? So anyways, this week we're talking about a band of brothers, two brothers, two bands, Zemial and Agatus. The brothers Arkon Vorskoth and the hell was this guy's name? Esgarth the Dark One. They started both these acts way back in the late 80s / early 90s in Greece. The whole thing where you got two brothers running a band actually isn't that unusual in black metal. There's another example of it with Zemial, the famous Swiss black metal guys. That would be the brothers Vorfalak and Zitros, who later changed their names to Vorf and Zai to make it a little bit easier, right around the time that they sold out and started making like stupid pop music. Zemial and Agatus' guys, Arkon Vorskoth and Esgarth the Dark One, later on changed their names to The Dark and just Vorskoth. But they didn't sell out. They actually got better when they changed those names. Kind of weird. Also, another brother band would be Helleborus / Akhenaten, which is just Wyatt and Jared Hausman. You know, you don't always need a black metal name. You can just be, hey guys, I'm Wyatt. I did the best black metal album in 2016. No big deal. You know what I'm saying, right? But anyways, Arkon Vorskoth writes all the music for Zemial, except occasionally Esgarth the Dark One writes a few tracks here and there for Zemial, and then Esgarth the Dark One writes most of the music for Agatus, and occasionally Arkon Vorskoth runs in and, you know, he'll pick up the slack, write a few tracks. Vorskoth's a little bit more famous as a drummer, even though he's a multi-instrumentalist. The Dark is a little bit more famous as a guitarist, but he's also a multi-instrumentalist. I wish I could do cool stuff like this with my brother, you know? It'd be nice, but it's fine. Let's see, your brother's a normie. What are you gonna do? So anyways, both Zemial and Agatus have managed to crossbreed progressive rock into the black metal milieu. Normally, the rock music and black metal thing doesn't always work out so well. I mean, I guess there's that whole black metal shoegaze crossover stuff you hear with like Death Heaven or whatever. That's right. That's pretty good. Yeah, good stuff. Am I right, guys?
Hell to the no, no.
Oh, right. That's actually complete shit. Except for that second Catatonia album. That was pretty good. I ain't gonna hate on that album. What's that called? Raid Murder Day. Good album. Good album. I've gone back and forth on it for years, but I have come to the conclusion that is a good album. Thus spake Job. Alright, so the other big rock black metal fusion thing is that whole thing where you take like post-punk Joy Division-y stuff and mix it up with black metal, something like Life Lover. That's pretty good, yeah? It's pretty good stuff. What do you think? Pretty good? No, that sucks too. But there is some good stuff out there that does fuse a little bit of black metal and rock. And Agatus and Zemial are two examples of it. So Agatus's first album was firmly within the Hellenic black metal tradition, which means it is very melodic. There's a lot of influence from stuff like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Manowar. Manowar is really big in Greece, by the way. Bit of Merciful Fate in there. But it's also a little bit more Norwegian sounding than some of their compatriots, meaning that there's more tremolo-picked melodies and less palm muting, if that makes sense. It's not as percussive. It's more like flowing melody type stuff. Thing is, this album actually, I don't think is that great. That's alright. All the black metal elitists like it, and they don't like any of the other Agatus stuff, which doesn't make sense to me. I'm a massive black metal elitist, and I think it's just okay. So, whatever. Second Agatus album is, what did it came out like 10 years after that one? Way better, really, really good. Flowing melodies, long, complex, melodic phrases. The drumming gets a little bit more eclectic, foreshadowing the kind of stuff that they're going to do on the main album I'm talking about. That album being The Eternalist, which is possibly my favorite album that came out in 2016. It's full-on heavy metal / progressive rock. It's progressive, but the songs aren't that long. They're very compactly written despite being very complex. They take advantage of what I like to call verse, chorus, plus, plus. Usually you get verse, chorus, a bridge, a chorus, maybe a coda. But a lot of progressive rock branched off from rock music by making the bridge almost a turnaround into a completely new song. Merciful Fate pioneered this in a black metal context with songs like Evil. Great song title. Awesome song. Big old turnaround, turns into a completely new thing, then goes back into a coda that kind of reiterates themes of the initial song, but also ends it on like a new direction and feels like you're going on a journey. The Eternalist is all about that. Really cool album title that fits what they're doing, because a lot of the lyrics are about Nietzschean eternal recurrence. The music itself is bringing back past archetypes of metal into black metal. The thing about this one is you can kind of tell that a black metal person wrote it because it's a lot more complex than a regular heavy metal album. Like, I played this for a guy that didn't know about Agatus and just told him, check out this cool heavy metal band, it's great. And he listened to it for about like 5 minutes and he's like, wow, this is awesome. This is definitely written by people that played black metal, isn't it? And I was like, yeah. Then he like puffed on his stogie and looked really smart. I was impressed that he was able to pick up on that. I hang out with cool people. Okay. So anyways, this album has got a lot of Thin Lizzy double guitar lead stuff, a lot of trade-off between guitar and Moog or Moog, however you say it, the big famous German synthesizer of the 70s and 80s. Lyrics are pretty cool. They're not really satanic black metal lyrics. Not that there's anything wrong with that. When done properly, I see Satanism as a counterpart to fascism in that Satanism is anti-egalitarian ethics applied to the individual, whereas fascism is anti-egalitarian ethics applied to the collective. I guarantee I'm not the first person to have made that conclusion, or rather come to that conclusion. But the lyrics on this album, in addition to being about a lot of Nietzschean stuff, particularly eternal recurrence, I think my uttering of the words eternal recurrence has in itself become an eternal recurrence on this podcast segment. Sorry, guys. Look it up. It's interesting stuff. They also sing a lot about Atlantis. And they do sing, by the way. There's almost no black metal vocals on this at all. It's basically all his kind of gruff, clean vocals. And occasionally he even gets like a little bit like, ha! Like 80s high-pitched metal stuff on the song of Magic and Fire, or The Oath of Magic and Fire. Really cool high-pitched vocals there. So we got lyrics about Atlantis. That's pretty common for Greek bands for some reason. They're always singing about Atlantis. On Thorns I Lay put out a really cool Atlantis-themed concept album called Orama. Check that shit out too, fam. Really good stuff. Underrated. I never see anybody talk about it. We got Atlantis. We got a song about Odysseus. And they particularly emphasize the satanic aspects of Odysseus, in that he is a man against the gods. Just in the same way that we're the men against time. He's fighting back against reality, because the gods were very real for him, and they're all trying to screw him over. They don't want him to get home to Ithaca. And he's like, well, fuck you. I'm really smart. I'll figure out a way to do it, you know? Just powers on through it. Very inspiring. Also, we got a song about Gilgamesh. That's always good. Greek bands like to sing a lot about Sumerian stuff, too. Not Sumerian like Conan the Sumerian, but like Sumerian, you know, Sumer. All that. Also a lot of general mysticism. Fun stuff. The kind of album you could probably play for your dad, because it's not really like blah all the time, you know. It's more like progressive rock, laid back but still very driving. Highly recommend it. Go out and buy it. It's on Hell's Headbangers. While you're on their website, also get a Colts to Ghouls, or however you say it, album. That's good stuff too. So that's the band where my buddy Esgarth, the Dark One, now just known as The Dark, writes all the music. His brother writes most of the music. That'd be his brother, Archon Vorsgarth, writes most of the music in Zemial, who started out as a black thrash band. For those who aren't in the know, black thrash basically means you crossbreed black metal with thrash metal, so the Palm Muty, Megadethy, Anthraxy, creatory type stuff. Very driving, very invigorating. Go check out the Zemial song, Nocturnal Witch. It's really good, especially in the gym. I'll wait, it's fine, go check it out. Okay, hopefully you're back now. So, gradually, Zemial over the years has changed from being a black thrash band into sort of a progressive rock thing in their own right. Their previous album, Nicta, was basically you'd get a minute or so of crazy thrash riffs and then a bunch of linking riffs, slowly transitioning to some crazy Hawkwind jams, a little bit of Klaus Schulze in there, then transition back to black thrash for the coda. Usually each of their songs would take about 10 minutes. There's also a lot of Manowar and stuff in there. Check it out. Nicta, also on Hell's Headbangers. But the one I'm talking about now is called The Repair of Reputations. It's their new EP. It's named after an R.W. Chambers story, and it's, well, you go on Bandcamp, you can get it for about €3. It's one song, €3. But wait, you say, I'm not gonna pay for €3, €3 cuckbucks for one frickin' song. Let me tell you something, buddies. It's a 17-minute long song. That's basically the length of an EP. Alright, so €3 isn't that much money. Just don't get it on iTunes, because it costs $10. Even though previous Zemial full lengths that are on iTunes cost like $6. I don't get it. Don't go on iTunes. Don't give money to Apple. They're scumbags. Just get it off their Bandcamp. You get like a cool PDF with all the lyrics, which are very involved. Like I said, it's based off of a Robert W. Chambers story called The Repair of Reputations. This isn't even metal at all. Like, it's straight up jazz fusion influenced prog rock. A lot of crazy drumming, a lot of wacky keyboard solos. Very, very cool vocals from Mr. Vorsgarth. He's got like a pretty unique voice. It's gruff, but it's also smooth at the same time. Smooth. Also, while you're at it, get yourself a copy of Robert W. Chambers' The King in Yellow. R.W. Chambers, big influence on H.P. Lovecraft. 2 initials, very good sign for a writer. This book is wacky. The first short story in the book is The Repair of Reputations, which is what the Zemial album is based off of. One of the first examples of an unreliable narrator in fiction. Later on, stories transition into like kind of early body horror stuff, if that makes any sense. Almost like a 19th century romantics take on what would later turn into a David Cronenberg movie. As the book goes on, it eventually transitions to sort of weird romantic semi-prose poetry stories about the Franco-Prussian War that you could hear a lot of what Clark Ashton Smith, the famous Lovecraft contemporary, was later going to do, probably influenced by this book. The main thing that ties all the short stories in the book together is an imaginary play called The King in Yellow, which drives the protagonist to madness or maybe an ecstatic revelation about the true nature of reality, or murder or suicide, depending on their mental strength. So you can see how this book was sort of the precursor for H.P. Lovecraft's conception of the Necronomicon. Good book. A little weird. But if you're delving into the roots of Lovecraft, it's worth checking out. I'm pretty sure that's how Zemial found it, because a lot of these Greek bands are really big into Lovecraft. They're probably like, oh, who influenced Lovecraft? I'm going to read that too. Then they get back into R.W. Chambers, Algernon Blackwood, and M.R. James. M.R. James is one of my favorite writers. I might have to do a thing on him sometime. M.R. James is great. But the thing is, it all comes back around to Lovecraft, since these guys influenced Lovecraft. Zemial takes influence from Lovecraft, then goes further back in time, takes influence from people that influenced Lovecraft. The Eternalists, like the Agatus album. You see what I did there? It's kind of interesting. That all points to there sort of being this weird secret world that we're not really aware of, that can either destroy our minds or strengthen them depending on how we deal with it. I feel like people in our movement can sympathize with that, or at least empathize with it. Yeah, interesting notion. Think about it. See you next time. Whoa!